The
500
Hats.
of
Bartholomew
Cubbins.
by
Dr.
Seuss.
presented
by
Joshua Joyner.
Ellen Bowman.
and Charlize Ledbetter.
Hats play a major role in a lot of Dr. Seuss's books. They're not necessarily always a big part of the plot, but they seem to show up a lot in a lot of his different books, such as Bartholomew, or the 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, and The Cat in the Hat, and even Green Eggs and Ham. And even though they're not necessarily a large part of the plot of the book, it's still a reoccurring theme in Dr. Seuss's art, and this is a little bit more important than what seems to meet the eye at first, because Dr. Seuss actually had a great affinity for hats, and he had a really large hat collection back at his home. And one article that we found talked about how Dr. Seuss would always invite over esteemed guests to have dinner with him, and he said that he would always just get hats out of his hat collection and make them wear silly hats for the dinner because it would help make the evening.
The overview of the story is about a young boy who is caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Bartholomew is caught illegally wearing a hat by the very king of his home of Did. The king orders him to remove his hat, but when he does so, he unknowingly produces another hat upon his head. The king becomes increasingly frustrated with the never-endingness of Bartholomew's hats, and he orders the boy to be brought back to the palace. At the palace, Bartholomew is set to be beheaded, but the executioner says that he cannot behead him while he has a hat on. That obviously results in a problem, so they bring him back up to the throne room and continue to remove his hat. As the hats are being removed, they become more extravagant. The last hat is so beautiful that the king himself offers Bartholomew 500 gold pieces for it and lets him go free.
Artistic interpretation or aesthetic analysis. In Bartholomew Cubbins, Seuss uses the colors red and black. Red often symbolizes danger, but also intimidation and defiance. Throughout most of the book, in fact, the entire picture is black and white except for Bartholomew's red hat. This brings the focus in on him and indicates that he, as small and powerless as he is portrayed, still has power and some kind of influence over the king. On the other hand, the color black is known to represent depression or grief. With everything around Bartholomew being colored black, this could symbolize how the kingdom of Did lived in sadness of their oppression, maybe in the same way that the countries that were progressively being overtaken by Hitler lived in theirs.
Seuss uses political, historical, and social or sociological frameworks to get his themes across. The political view is Seuss and his wife, Helen, traveled to Germany in the summer of 1936 for vacation, and Seuss observed Nazism and related fascism propaganda firsthand. The books he wrote immediately after returning, such as The Sneetches and Yertle the Turtle, were clear attempts to use his books to ostracize Nazism. Leaving Germany alone was still a prevalent opinion at the time, and 500 Hats seems to be one more attempt to influence people's opinions of fascist dictatorships such as that of Nazi Germany.
Another perspective that we could use to analyze Dr. Seuss's themes is the historical perspective. So a lot of the art that he used in the book is in red and black, and this red and black color scheme can reflect a type of mood that he wants to establish with ostracizing the fascist kind of dictatorship that's going on here. And it kind of reflects the red and black color scheme from Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. In a quote from this book, Victor Hugo says, "Red for the blood of angry men, black for the night that will finally end." And so the book Les Mis was an instant popular success when it came out. And so in this time period, a lot of people would likely know of this book, or at least know what it's about, and maybe even know this quote. So Dr. Seuss is playing off of the current artistic style of the time to help get his message across with the color scheme.
So, coming from the social perspective, Seuss seems to use the symbolized power and rebellion of the red hat to tie in his classic belief that children or the younger generation have so much influence and power even when they don't realize it. Like how Bartholomew did not realize that his reoccurring hat tricks at first, but he still used it to cause a riot in the kingdom of a tyrannical leader. Majors or departments of study related to the book. Communications Public Relations. Communications PR teaches us to be constituents with the goal of building mutually beneficial relationships. This can be seen at the end of the book when Bartholomew trades his hat to the king for 500 gold pieces and his freedom. That's an example of a mutually beneficial relationship because the king gets his beautiful and prized hat and Bartholomew gets money and freedom.
The way elementary education is related to the book is because it helps teach children how to express themselves in any way they can. In this children's book, Bartholomew is expressing himself through his hats. Even when the king told him to stop, he kept having hats because it was a way of expressing himself through hats.
Even anatomy can be considered a relevant theme for Dr. Seuss's artistic style because Dr. Seuss likes to make fantastic and hyperbolized creatures in his art, such as the Sneetches, who have very small, jawbones underneath their mouth. And even in this book, even though the characters are humanoid, the king, he's portrayed as greedy and evil, you can see the exaggerated features in his eyebrows and his pointed nose.
Events current to the book's publication. Bartholomew Cubbins was published by Vanguard Press in the year 1938.
The story was published in early September of the year, while in late September the Treaty of Munich was signed, which surrendered Czechoslovakia over to German power.
Also, on the exact same day that the story was published, Mussolini had declared removal of civil rights to all Italian Jews.
No! 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 No!